One is just a simple buzz toad. This is the Bass Pro Shop swimming frog. The other one is a buzz bait. Hey everybody, welcome back to the garage, and for this month's technique of the month video for October, and this one I decided to title it Burning Down the Bank. I'm not talking about your local bank, not talking about robbing the bank, I'm talking about the bank on the lake, okay? And putting the trolling motor up on 7 or 8 and just going down the bank covering a lot of water, because that's something that in the fall I feel like is about as good a way to catch them as any other time, any time of the year to do that, but certainly that is the best way to catch them this time of the year. Your bites can be kind of scattered out. They can be kind of random. You may catch one on a main lake point. You may catch one in the back of the pocket. You just got to go sometimes. Just got to put the trolling motor down and just go. And kind of fish what's in front of you. I think you hear people talk about that a lot. But this is certainly the time of the year when that is absolutely the case. With that in mind, a couple of baits, anything that I'm going to be throwing this time of the year is going to be stuff that I can throw out and reel back in probably at a pretty high rate of speed. And given that it's the fall, my mind is thinking bait fish. Early in the fall like this, I really feel like the fish are keyed in on shad, keyed in on bait, and that is their primary forage. Not that they're not eating crawdads, not that they're not eating bluegill or anything else that's up there for them to feed on, but I do think that shad is a very big part of their diet this time of the year. And something you'll visibly see happen from time to time is those bass actually get into wolf packs. Sometimes you'll see a pack of 3, 4, 5, 7 bass just cruising the banks. And when those fish are doing that, if you're not moving, your chance of intercepting them really is pretty slim, because like I said, they may be on a main lake point 1 minute, they may be in the back of the pocket the next, and just kind of working their way around. I think that's what those fish do a lot this time of the year. They'll get in those little groups and they'll just work through those areas. And two schools of thought there. You could say, man, I'm just going to sit here and wait on this next pack to swim to me. That would work. I personally can't do that. I've got to pick up something and go with it to be able to just make my mind work right and be able to catch them. So the two baits that I wanted to show out of that pick 4 that really fit this particular technique extremely well. One is just a simple buzz toad. This is the Bass Pro Shop swimming frog. The other one is a buzz bait, with a white frog on the back of that. Both of these, like I said, baits that I can throw out, hold the rod tip up high, and just wind. I'm going to have that trolling motor on 7, and I'm going to be going down the bank at 1.5 miles an hour or so, maybe pushing 2 miles an hour. I'm going to be chucking this thing up ahead of the boat, and I'm going to be reeling it back. If there's a lay down, I'm going to throw across it. If there's a boat dock, I'm going to skip it under it. If there's an overhanging bush, I'm going to skip it under it. If there's a patch of grass, I'm going to throw across that. Doesn't matter what type of cover, or if there's no cover whatsoever, I'm going to take one of these two and go down the bank with them. What's going to make me decide to throw just the frog or to throw the buzz frog, out there on any particular situation? The buzz frog, let's go with it. So obviously you've got the kicking legs of that toad on the back, creating a little bit of disturbance, but you've got that blade up there in the front, really moving a lot of water. It's going to be churning, it's going to be spraying. We've all thrown a buzz bait, you know what that looks like. That's creating a pretty big deal of disturbance. I'm going to pick the buzz bait over just the plain frog when you've got some chop on the water, when you've got really cloudy skies, when that surface is already disturbed more, or you've got dirtier water, when you need a little bit more vibration, a little bit more sound. That's when I'm actually going to go with the buzz bait. If you've got really still conditions, hardly any wind, if any wind whatsoever, and especially bright sunny skies, that's when I'm going to go with just that little subtle frog that's not creating a whole bunch of disturbance. Those legs kicking along the surface, especially when it's still, it's glass out, and you're just kind of making that V along the surface, man, that's when that dude is going to get bites, that fish that won't even look at the buzz bait. I mean, actually run from it at times. Sometimes you can see them up there in that shallow, clear water. You get that buzzbait close to them, they are gone the other way on fish that would have absolutely destroyed that swimming frog. So that's the big difference for me. A lot of it has to do with the surface of the water. If you've got wind or not, if you've got that chop or not. Really still conditions, really flat calm, that swimming frog being very subtle is going to get those bites. So again, this technique, not a lot to have to tell you to break down. Sunny skies, cloudy skies, you know, wind or not, that's just going to kind of help you pick which one of those baits to go with. But outside of that, man, it's just put the trolling motor down. Would I rather pick a bank that's got some isolated targets? It's got, you know, it's got a piece of brush, a rock here. Absolutely. You know, anything that as a fisherman is going to give me something to kind of clue in on or think that a fish may be using as a piece of cover to set up to ambush on, I'm absolutely going to do that. But I've caught them on slick, nothing banks on these baits fishing this technique this time of the year. So don't think that it has to be cover oriented, but also don't tell yourself, hey, I'm going to avoid all cover whatsoever. You know, you can definitely get in places that that have some cover and catch fish with this. I do think there's times when those wolf packs will be cruising and, you know, really on the move, kind of on the prowl, looking like that. And there's other times that, hey, there's a really nice piece of cover there. Maybe there's not already some fish sitting in it. They'll ease up to something like that and kind of make that their home for a little bit. You may pull up there, first cast, boom, catch one. That can be just kind of a little side tip about this time of the year. Those isolated pieces of cover, if you pull up to one, very first cast, throw that toad across it or something, boom, a fish comes up, eats it, you catch that fish. You know, you make another cast or two at that point in time, you don't catch anything. You think, well, I caught what was there. Probably not actually the case. What happened, whether you saw it or not, there were 3 or 4 bass there. One of them was really aggressive, come up, ate your bait, you caught that fish. The other ones may have followed it to the boat, they may have just scattered out. You leave that piece of cover alone 30 minutes or an hour, come back to it, make that same cast again, you're liable to catch another one. So just keep that in mind, especially on some of that piece of cover out on the flat by itself. Come back and make that cast again about an hour later and see what happens. So fishing in the fall, man, cover some water, put a bait in your hand that's easy to cover water with, you'll probably like what happens.